Trump and his people are playing a game with respect to Jeffrey Epstein and his papers. While they filed a motion in front of the judge to release some of the grand jury testimony with respect to Epstein and if any relates to Trump, there is a huge amount of documents that are not part of the grand jury testimony that are held by the Department of Justice. The only ones that would be at the grand jury that are relevant to that grand jury are those that would seek the conviction of Ghislaine Maxwell, because that's who was being indicted and convicted. One of the great tragedies of this story is that she is the only person who's been convicted of a crime. When Jeffrey Epstein was arrested and convicted and got a sweetheart deal of a slap on the wrist, the guy who gave that deal to Epstein ended up being the Secretary of Labor for Donald Trump. Well, we now know that Trump sent Epstein a card with a lewd drawing in many ways, and a statement that is particularly enthralling, intriguing, dangerous is, let us have many more days of secrets together. Who knows what that means? Trump has denied it, and he's filed a lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal and others, but you've got to believe that they did a massive amount of work to make sure that that's something signed by Trump and was presented to Jeffrey Epstein by Maxwell in 2003. But this is all the tip of the iceberg stuff that is beginning to come out, and more of it's going to come as time goes on. Let's turn our attention to a few other things. Apparently the alligator Alcatraz is filled with mosquitoes down there, and it's a terrible place to be, obviously, with no air conditioning, limited food, terrible housing conditions. But we must always keep in mind that this is the Gestapo working for Trump and for ICE and Homeland Security, and they are going to have a budget bigger than the entire federal prison system, and a budget is bigger than Russia's yearly cost for waging war in Ukraine. We've never seen such a thing in this country, as the country's education and scientific communities are being decimated. The Gestapo who walk around this country are hiding their faces behind masks and arresting people without warrants and without cause. There was a report the other day that a 6-year-old child has been picked up and detained by ICE, even though that child has been undergoing cancer treatments. It's a hell of a world that they're creating in this country. Let us never forget, each of us, we are the land of the free and home of the brave, and that's worth continuing to fight for and speak out for. Meanwhile, what the ICE people have done in Los Angeles is decimated the livelihoods of all the street vendors, because all ICE does, and their goons is going around trying to pick up people off the street in Los Angeles and elsewhere, and this has decimated the work for the street vendors who have tried to make a living as a capitalist on the streets of Los Angeles. But Trump and his group are destroying that as well. Meanwhile, one last thing which I'll mention today is it turns out that the rest of the world is turning to China for goods and services because the United States is simply untrustworthy, and China is putting on a goodwill, if you will, tour de force around the rest of the world, saying that you can't trust Americans in America, but you can trust them. And apparently other countries are saying, well, we might not like them, but we'll do business with them on a number of different bases, because Trump is just making everybody's life more difficult.